In today's episode, we're going to talk all about real estate websites, why you need a real estate investing website, why you may not need a real estate investing website, how they work, how to generate leads, when it's important, when it's not, what to expect, what they cost, how to use it effectively to make your life so much easier, and so much more. Here we go. Welcome, Income Hackers. This is your host, Ryan G. Wright. This podcast is for individuals and families who are interested in fast-tracking their financial success. You'll hear experts discussing topics like generating a residual cash flow, building wealth through real estate, financial literacy, creating a family legacy, and overcoming your fears. If you get value out of this podcast, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It's a big help to me. All right, Income Hackers, we are here with another special episode. I've got an amazing guest who's with us today. Our special guest is the founder of REI Conversion. He helps investors launch their websites for real estate investors specifically, help them build tools that they can scale and automate parts of their investing system. And he's also the host of the podcast show, REI Conversion Podcast, where they talk about digital tools and ways to drive leads as you're marketing for real estate investors. Please give a very warm Income Hacker welcome to Jessey Kwong. Jessey, thanks for being here, man.
Thanks, Ryan, for having me on the show.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's just jump right into this. So I think there's two types of investors out there. There's investors that want to have a website, and there's investors that have a website.
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into both of those. I want to start with the ones that don't have a website, like how to do that, what that looks like, how expensive that is. And then we want to talk about those that have a website, what can happen so they can get more leads, because all websites aren't created equal. So we want to get into this thing we call on-page optimization. But so I don't have a site. I'm a real estate investor. I'm like, oh, I don't know anybody. How am I going to do this? How do we go about doing that?
Yeah, well, first of all, you come find us. No, I'm just kidding. There are tons of website builders out there. Great place to look is something like Upwork.com. You can always find a developer. You can always try an attempt to do it yourself if you're sort of the DIY kind of person. Or you could work with someone like us where we launch templates for you, or you launch it yourself, and then we continue to add features onto your site, so sort of making your life a little bit easier. So there's a lot of routes you can go, but when I first started myself, before I got into all of this, I was running a t-shirt company. I was selling t-shirts. So I hired a friend who knew some web development. Fortunately, I knew how to do graphic design on my end, and we were able to whip up a website. So, you can look at all sorts of places for websites.
What should somebody look to invest? What's a low range or a high range? Not like a ridiculous range, but what's it going to cost somebody to get a website? If I don't want to do it myself and I want to pay for a good website to get developed, what am I gonna spend on that typically?
Yeah, it really depends on what your website can do. But if you're, say, looking at building a website to intake motivated property sellers, or you're offloading properties on your, and building a cash buyer's website where, cash buyer can come and look at your website. That can really range. I work with a lot of investors who have gone down that route. And a lot of them, funny enough, a lot of these projects get abandoned. It happens more than you know it. So make sure if you're hiring someone, you trust them. I've had about 5 years ago on a completely different project, we were doing a huge website revamp, and the developers literally sort of abandoned the project almost when we were close to done, because they were getting involved with other projects. They just ran out of budget or whatever it might have been. So really be careful who you choose for. But in terms of what kind of budget you're looking at, it can go anywhere from, recently I heard anywhere from about $5,000 to about $10,000, for a custom functioning website to get done. So it can, you can go lower as well if you have an existing theme that you're wanting to use and you want the developer to just modify it, maybe a couple $1,000.
Gotcha. Yeah, that gives our listeners an idea. So what to do. And why would somebody want to create a website?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think it's more or less like you could a lot of investors sort of are able to get away without having a website, but there are advantages to having a website nowadays. When we're sending out mailers or we're sending out postcards or letters to purchase a piece of property, to a lot of people nowadays are driving that traffic. A lot of those people that are receiving the mailers are coming to check them on Google to see if they even exist. Because sometimes, with investors that are willing to pick up properties with cash, it sounds a little bit fishy to begin with. So the sort of the BS radar goes off, and they're going to start Googling. And having that website, you're going to be able to build trust, and you're going to be able to increase the likelihood of them actually submitting that property to you. And also, having that website there, you're giving them a direction. People always need direction of what to do. So when you have a website that they're landing on, they know exactly what they need to do, and that website is up 24 hours of the day to build trust, to drive them to submit that property. I mean, at the end of the day, it is a numbers game, and whatever we can do to increase that likelihood or the rate of submission of that property to you is a win on our end.
That makes sense. I
Yeah.
think one of the misconceptions is if I build a website, all of a sudden I'll get all these new leads.
Yeah.
What needs to happen so I actually get traffic to my website?
Yeah, that's another great question. So that is not the truth. I mean, when you have a website, it doesn't mean anybody's going to be able to find it. There are thousands, tens of thousands of new websites coming up every day. You still need to be doing your basics. You still need to be sending people mailers. You still need to be driving for dollars. You still need to be handing out business cards. You still need to be networking. You still need to be doing whatever you can to get in front of as many eyes as you can. And having a website is just another avenue to get in front of their eyes. But it happens to be a very convenient one when we now are on our smartphones, on laptops all day. It's very easy, again, to come onto your website, understand what you do. So make sure, if you're looking to drive traffic to your website, you're doing the basics. You're sending out marketing material, you're sending out letters out there, and then leaving your company name or leaving your link on there to tell them, hey, come over to my site, submit your property, I'll get you a cash offer by the end of the day, or whatever it might be. You still need to do the basics.
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. What I don't want our listeners to think is I'm going to throw up a website, put some money into it, and all of a sudden I'm going to get all these leads,
Mhm.
because it doesn't work like that. You have to do something to get people to come to your website, or you'll never derive the leads. I
Absolutely.
think, and this kind of shifts us into the other focus is, if someone does have a website and they are driving traffic, why aren't they getting the conversions? Why aren't people doing that? If you don't have a website, you maybe need one and you maybe don't. It depends on your situation. If you're not doing direct marketing, but if you do have a website, it gives you some more legitimacy. So somebody's more willing to work with you versus somebody else if you do the website right. And so now let's kind of focus on, and we've talked about what it kind of costs to get a website going. And so now let's talk about if I have a website, but it's not doing anything for me. What are some of the common pitfalls you see from existing sites?
Yeah. So I work again with, we launch real estate investing websites to generate as much motivated seller leads as possible. So we work with flippers, wholesalers, whether in the housing or land industry. And I come across a lot of other websites and sort of see where the most common issues are. And I've got actually 5 listed here, Ryan, that I'd love to share with you guys.
Yeah.
Um, the most common one, and even outside of real estate, is the headline. Um, the headline is probably the most important thing to catch the attention. Um, in fact, I ran a headline test for my land buying website. This was about 2 years ago, and I drove traffic to both of them. I did a A/B split test, and that's the beauty of having websites. You can do these split tests. And one said, it's easy to sell your property fast for cash. And the other one said, sell your property fast for cash. The latter actually outperformed by 15%.
Wow.
So, that's 15% increase in motivated sellers. So just one of those deals can, help you make your goal for the year, right? So What I commonly see with a lot of websites with headlines is a slogan of their company, or some sort of romanticized line. You really need to come back and pull it back and really communicate exactly what are you going to be doing for your visitor. Um, so like I said, with mine is sell your property fast for cash. We know how they, when they come to our site, they know exactly how they're going to be helped. And a few things about headlines is that it needs to sit above the fold line. So the fold line is where the screen cuts off once you land on that website. You keep in mind the font size of the headline needs to be large. Sometimes I see, you know, headlines that are written in difficult to read fonts or smaller fonts. So you want to make sure you highlight that as big as possible. Again, keep the entire headline about them, not about you. People are on there looking for solutions for themselves. They're not looking to hear about your business. They're not here to look at, and see what your slogan is. We're here to solve their problems.
And then specifically, you're talking specifically in the headline, because at some point you're going to want to build some trust or credibility.
Yes,
But you're saying in the headline, don't make the headline, we've been in business for 300 years and we're the
exactly.
greatest. It's like, how are you going to solve my problem if I'm looking? The answer should be in your headline.
Exactly. That's right.
Introducing the Investor's Edge real estate investing software for fix and flip pros. Target the most profitable deals in your area with ease and start capitalizing on opportunities you didn't even know existed. This simple-to-use software will make it easy to find properties for your flip and fix business, so you can focus on what you do best. Call 801-921-8751 after this podcast to get set up on a free trial.
And the next one, because we have a reason for them to come onto our website. We want to drive them to submit their property to us so that we can buy it, we can flip it, we can, flip the contract. Next thing you want to do is make sure you have a form that is there so that they know that is the main call to action. They know what to do. They read the headline. They understand how they're going to be helped. Now the next thing they know is to submit their property to you on that form. So aside from your headline, the other thing that needs to show up, immediately is that form, and it needs to sit above the fold line. So don't hide this on a separate page. And I see this a lot where the form itself is hidden on another page. You're requiring them to click and navigate and actually find that form. You only have a few seconds to really allow your visitor to digest what to do on your site. So again, when we're talking about conversion rates, percentages matter here. The rates matter here. Every one loss, is a potential deal lost. So you want to, again, keep that above the keep that above the fold. You want to keep that form simple. So maybe you only want 3 or 4 fields on there with a large button to submit that form.
And what Jessey's talking about here is the more questions you ask, the more resistance there's going to be. So it's like, name. Do you ask first and last name, or do you just ask name? Cell phone number. Do you ask like home, phone, whatever, or do you just say cell phone number? Do you ask them for their email address? Probably because you want to follow up with them. But the more things you're asking, the simpler we want to make it, the less resistance we're going to have in getting somebody to convert.
Absolutely. I mean, another way to get around that, if you do need to collect a lot of information, and we do when we buy properties, we do need a lot of information to be able to do our due diligence on that property and evaluate that property. So what we typically do is we'll have a multi-step form. So the first form on that home page is just their name, email, and property address. When they click and submit that still comes to us. So we have their and email or a contact. We have their contact, we have their name, we have the property now. But if we needed more information, the second step would be a longer form. Now, they may or may not complete that longer form, but at least now you have your foot in the door to be able to reach out to them and follow up with them and see what's going on. Now, most likely, if they're motivated, they'll submit their entire property to you, and they'll fill out that second form for you. So breaking those forms into multiple steps is another tactic we use to increase the likelihood of somebody submitting their property. So making it easier, like Ryan, like you said, just less resistance, right? For them to submit their property to you or take action on your website, essentially.
That's great. And so that's 3 of them. You have 2 more then?
Yeah, sorry, I've got
Let's go
I've got
over.
3 more here. So
3
the
more.
other 3 is, when you're writing about content on your site, people, it's great to talk about the history and what you do exactly, but use the space to, you don't have the forever time to have your reader or your visitor sort of understand your entire business. What you want to talk about is sort of the unique benefits of helping them. So, you want to talk about how fast you can get their offer to them, how easy it is to work with you. You want to talk about situations that they might be in. Maybe they're coming out of a divorce or whatnot. They maybe inherited property that they don't want to deal with. So you want to talk about the unique benefits. Again, it's just like the headline. You're there to serve them. And then the other one that I commonly hear about a lot from investors is this whole SEO hype. And, we were just sort of talking about this, Ryan, where, if I set up my site, will I get leads? SEO takes time. First of all, it takes time to actually rank on Google. So when you launch a website, don't expect to be discoverable immediately, even in a few months. It can take up to 6 months, years. And to really climb the rankings, it will take time. Now, just because you have your site does not mean SEO out of the box is going to be working. So you can always bring somebody in to optimize your website to show up on the search engines like Google, to show up higher on the search engines. So coming back to SEO, don't focus so much on that. Focus on your basics of getting your mailers out, getting your marketing out there to drive people to your site. You're going to spend your time is better spent with that than trying to tinker with SEO.
Yeah, I like it.
Sorry. And your last one here is that I notice with a lot of other sites is that we're not spending enough time building trust. So trust through testimonials. It's so important to be collecting testimonials. Using, even things like Google reviews or Facebook or wherever you exist, get as many testimonials as you can and tie it back to your website. Get video testimonials. Those are huge if you can get video testimonials. In our podcast, we've talked about in the past of, the strategies of getting people to submit their testimonial to you. Get them at the time when things are going right for the clients that you're working with. At that point in time, it's probably the best time to get them to submit the testimonial, or right before you actually or during the process of sending them the cash payment for their property. So look for opportunities where things are going right and going well, and where things are feeling like it's smooth sailing. Get them at that point in time to submit a testimonial to you and include that on your site.
Yeah, I think one of the best ways to do that is at the closing table.
Yeah, absolutely.
take out your phone at the closing table, film them saying, this was a great experience. And you can even prod them along, ask questions and get their answers and ask more questions, and then, edit it down to a good looking film, can work as well. So
yeah, exactly. So those are the 5 more the common things that I typically see with a lot of investors who sort of launch their own website, but again, haven't really optimized everything on their site. And these are, again, easy fixes that I think that a lot of people can sort of tackle on their own, or bring somebody on to help them with that.
I like it. Well, Jessey, let's change gears a little bit here. What would you say was your first income hack?
Oh man, well, like I said earlier, I used to sell T-shirts. I did everything to try, sort of the DIY market, and tried to hustle online as much as I can. But I found there was being on the internet gave me an opportunity to try a lot of different things. I mean, even when I was young, I was selling stuff on eBay. This was before my even teenagers. So I guess selling on eBay was what did I used to sell? I used to sell all sorts of craft and art stuff on eBay, and collectible memorabilia.
Yeah. Where would you get it from? Garage sales or something? Or
Yeah. Oh man. My my parents actually work in the movie industry, so a lot of times they could bring home props that were for the extras. So I ended up actually listing a lot of extra props back
cool.
in the day. Yeah.
Cool. Very awesome. What would you say has been one of your biggest income hacker mistakes?
Um, well, getting into real estate and sort of lending, um, doing some of my first I guess fix and flips, not doing enough due diligence on who I was lending to, and not fully understanding the market that I was getting into.
Yeah. Yeah. I like it. What happened on those?
Um, well, we're still stuck with the property itself, and it's just not moving in that market. But we're sort of flipping it to become an Airbnb property. It was sort of a simple in and out type of property, type of investment. But we're sort of still stuck with it at this point. So right now we're still figuring out what we're going to do with it. But now we're Airbnb-ing that property now.
Yeah. Appreciate your honesty on that one.
Yeah.
What about an income hacker success? What's been one of your biggest income hacker successes?
Well, I mean, got a bunch of buy and holds. I love buy and hold property and renting those out. I mean, it covers, the a lot of my expenses and yeah, I mean, pretty basic. I would say my buy and hold properties are something that I enjoy quite a bit.
That's awesome. I love it. What advice do you have for income hackers?
Well, don't be afraid to make mistakes. I've made tons. Um, it's very funny. I mean, my mistakes have led me to, start up what I'm working on right now for the last few years now with REI conversion. So, I've made a lot of mistakes investing in properties, but that led me to meeting a lot of different people. And you never know what kind of opportunities. So, even though you may have made a mistake, there's always sort of a positive side that comes out of that eventually. You may not realize that at first. Yeah, I'm very grateful for a lot of the mistakes that I've made.
Yeah, I like to say it's not a mistake unless you don't learn from it.
Exactly.
Right. Then it's an experience, then it's an education, then it's an investment. But if you don't do or learn from it, then it is a mistake, right?
Yeah, and it's funny how mistakes can present different opportunities for you. And I can't sort of point my finger exactly on what mistakes I've done in the past that has led me to opportunities. But I feel like every sort of mistake I've had, it turned out into positive in the end.
I love it. Jessey, let's say you had to start all over. You lost everything other than your family, your knowledge, and you had $1,000 in your pocket. If you had to start all over, you lost your rental properties, $1,000 in your pocket, what would you do?
That's a great question. I'd probably take that and being me, I would probably launch an online business where I can consult. That's probably the easiest way for me to get started, and then start building a product online and seeing how I can help others and bring value to others.
I like it. Let's talk a little bit about legacy. One of the reasons why I do the show is for my two boys, my 10-year-old, my 8-year-old. Any thoughts on legacy, leaving financial principles to the next generation, cash flow, investing, real estate? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, I've got a 1-year-old myself, and it's on my phone here, but I tried to lead by example for my son. I mean, he's still 1, but I think about this a lot, being a new parent right now.
Yeah.
And I think financial literacy and understanding, it's something that I wish schools would have dived a little bit more deeper into. So, even though that I'm into investing and, I do a bunch of different projects online as well. I do want to make sure that, that I lead by example for my son to be able to show him how to be a resourceful kind of a person. And I mean, just like what we were talking about, even making mistakes is an okay thing. So, I think just showing, the next generation how to be resourceful.
I like it. Wrap up questions. Let's just jump into some quick fire. What would you say your why is?
Oh, man. I've actually gotten a chance to successfully start up my land investing and getting into real estate pretty quickly. I think solely due to my knowledge of the digital marketing side, being able to launch websites, being able to drive leads. And I've gotten to know quite a few investors before even starting REI Conversion where they were struggling. And it's now sort of like been this thing, even with our podcast, where I just want to share as much value as I can. It's just something that I get out of it. If you ever listen to the REI Conversion podcast, I make sure it's as actionable as possible. I think I just enjoy giving value to others that are getting, especially those that are getting started. I know the struggle of starting because I've started a lot of other projects prior. So for me to be able to help those to get started is a big win.
What would you say your favorite book is?
Well, I've got one here on my desk. I'm reading Eckhart Tolle's A New Earth. It's more on the spiritual side of thing and being in the present moment. I struggle a lot with a lot of ups and downs of running a business, as a lot of other business owners struggle with. It's a mental journey. So I would say, my last most enjoyable book, it has nothing to do with business. But yeah, it's Any Titles by Eckhart Tolle.
Thanks for sharing that. I appreciate it. What about a favorite app? Is there an app you use on your phone quite frequently that's kind of your go-to?
Yeah, between the team, Slack, and then online, Trello is another one to sort of keep organized. I also use that for our CRM with our leads that come in. So Trello is a great app. And then Zapier. I would have to say Zapier just because Zapier allows us to automate a lot of our tasks, even within the team and then with a lot of our investors that are launching their sites.
So Jessey, let's say you had all day. Money was no object.
Yeah.
You didn't have obligations with your new little boy, right? It's a boy.
Yes.
You didn't have to do anything, or maybe you did. I don't know. What would you do?
If money was not an object.
No object. You got 24 hours. Money's no object.
Now I only had 24 hours.
Yeah. You got 24 hours.
And sorry, I'm getting you to repeat here. I'm trying to play this out in my head. Do I have a family or I don't have?
Yeah. You're in your current situation, but somebody could watch the kid. Maybe not. Maybe you want to take him. I don't know. You got 24 hours. Money's no object. What do you do?
Oh man, I'd just go for a nice long hike. Nice long hike with family if I could. I'm always working, and sometimes as entrepreneurs we get caught up in our work, and it's easy for time to fly, and because our work can be spread across the day, it feels like you're just constantly working. So be able to pull away from it and spend some quiet time with the family. That's it. That is exactly what I would want.
That's great. Thanks for sharing. How do people reach you?
Yeah, so you can definitely find us on our podcast, the REI Conversion podcast, and then you can also find us at reiconversion.com. You can book a tour with me. It's just a free call, really. And if you have any questions about sites or even investing in general, I'm always there to chat. I love to get to know all of you guys, and I spend a lot of time talking to a lot of investors. I just enjoy it sometimes. Other than that, I forgot to mention earlier, but if you wanted to, get access to our downloadable for, the most effective blueprint for a website to generate motivated seller leads, head over to resource.reiconversion.com. I'll get in touch with you.
Show notes. That'll be in the show notes as well.
Awesome. And then I'll get in touch with you through email. But yeah, Facebook is another spot you could reach us out at. But definitely on our website, reiconversion.com. That tour button literally goes to me.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. Well, Jessey, appreciate the downloadable on that. Appreciate having in the show, being here on the show. Any final thoughts for our income hackers?
Ah, man. I think the biggest one that we talked about was, make sure you're open to trying new things and don't be afraid to make mistakes.
Couldn't be said anymore. Okay, income hackers, it's time to go out there and make some things happen. Appreciate you being with us, Jessey.
Thanks very much, Ryan.
If you got value out of our discussion today, please subscribe, rate, and review the podcast. It's a big help to me. Also, please share with a friend. Nothing is more valuable than creating financial friends who are like-minded. You can do that by inviting them to listen to the Income Hacker podcast. Bye for now, and make it a very profitable day.
Income Hacker may receive payment on the show from sponsors and guests in the form of books, giveaway items, discounts, or other remunerations. This show is for entertainment purposes only, and before making any financial moves, consult with a professional who can intimately understand your personal situation.